Good evening and welcome to our regular town board meeting. Tonight we will have a public hearing calendar, an administrative calendar, and then the town board will remain to listen to the thoughts and concerns of interested residents. Before we do anything further, I would like to call on our Receiver of Taxes, Don Clavin, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I also would at this time like to welcome Boy Scout Troop 230 and Cub Scout Pack 230 from Oceanside. They're working on their citizenship and community badge. And I want to also acknowledge Mike Russo, the Troop Committee Chairman. Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll.
Supervisor Santino.
Here.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Here.
Councilman Blakeman.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Here.
Councilman Gooseby. Here. Councilman Hughes.
Here.
Receiver of Taxes, Donald X. Clavin.
Here.
Okay. First item on the agenda, please.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove 1 1/2 story wood frame, one-family dwelling with detached garage and remove all litter and debris from property in Elmont.
Okay, I don't agree with that. Okay. Is there anyone, I have no one signed in on the Elmont matter. This is on Elmont. Would anyone like to address the board relative to Elmont? Okay. And forgive us for not being prepared at the moment. It'll take 30 seconds. Please be seated. And your name and address for the record, please.
Ijoma Nduka for Riziki and Associates. Address is 51 East Bethpage Road in Plainview.
We can't hear you. Could you just speak a little closer to it?
Ijoma Nduka for Riziki and Associates. The address is 51 East Bethpage Road in Plainview.
Go ahead, please.
Well, according to the bank, they're attempting to gain ownership of the property so they can demolish it on their own. So we're seeing if we can get an adjournment on this.
Okay, customarily what we do is we will go through with the hearing tonight, and we generally give 30 days of informal time to effectuate repairs to the satisfaction of our building department. And if that's done within 30 days, then obviously it becomes null and void, but obviously if not, we go forward. So that's generally our pattern. So
So if they don't gain ownership within 30 days, the town will demolish on their own.
well, yeah, within 30. If there is not, substantial progress in terms of boarding it up, securing it, making it safe, then the town would move forward after the expiration of 30 days. Okay, thank you so very much. Anyone else would like to be heard on the Elmont matter? There being none, I'll accept a motion, please.
Supervisor, I move the public hearing be closed and the petition be approved. Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Next item, please.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove two-story wood frame, one-family dwelling with attached garage and remove all litter and debris from property in Merrick.
Okay. I have a couple of individuals who want to speak about that. Michael Orlando. Mr. Orlando. Please have a seat. And your name and address for the record, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, It's Michael Orlando. It's 2121 Abbott Avenue, Merrick, New York, 11566.
Okay. Go ahead, please. How are you?
This is the property on 2071 Abbott Avenue I'm purchasing for subdivision. The water and sewer permit is in place to be disconnected. PSE&G has been notified to disconnect the electric and National Grid as well. So I'm in the process of closing on the property, more than likely the end of December, first, second week of January, and then to demolish it and to build a new home.
Okay, well, there again, what we will do is move forward with the hearing. You'll work closely with the building department, and again, if it moves forward to our satisfaction, obviously, we'd much rather have you deal with it than us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else on the Merrick property? All right, there being none, I'll have a motion, please.
I move that the petition be granted.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove two-story wood frame, one-family dwelling, and remove all litter and debris from property in Oceanside.
So is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter on the calendar? Okay. How are you, and welcome back. But again, your name and address for the record.
John Manduca, 51 East Bethpage Road, Plainview, New York.
This is on the matter in Oceanside.
Correct.
Okay.
Same situation. The bank is looking to foreclose on the property, and they will handle the demolition.
Okay. So again, once again, we'll move forward, but stay in contact with our building department. Commissioner Rockcamp is right there, and obviously, if it's something that can be effectuated by the bank, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else on this matter? There being none, I'll accept a motion, please.
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the petition be granted.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Baldwin, Belmore, Hewlett, Merrick, North Belmore, Oceanside, Seaford, Wanta, and West Hempstead.
Okay, is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter? There being none, I'll accept a motion, please. I didn't see you. Hello, Ms. Meriday, how are you?
Rita J. Meriday, 758 Wesley Street, Baldwin. With this item and the next one, I'm just curious as to where the locations are relative to Baldwin, and with regard to the regulations and the restrictions, just in terms of what would be the enforcement methodology.
Well, let's talk about what they are, and then we'll...
Have a seat, get comfortable.
Good evening, Supervisor, town board members. Tom Reed, representing traffic control. The issue in Brooklyn, in Baldwin, involves Brooklyn Avenue by the railroad tracks on the north side. There's an auto body dealership there that had time limit parking that needed to be opened up a little bit because the cars were encroaching the driveway aprons of the business. So we had to clear that out and reestablish the existing restrictions that are there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the first one in 576.
Please give me another second.
Hasn't been called yet.
Okay, those issues are on Browning Street and Seaman Avenue. They are just basically corner clearances to enhance the sight distance and turning maneuvers at these intersections.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else who'd like to be heard on this matter, please? There being none, I think we had to do a motion, please. Is there a
Second the motion.
Okay.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Baldwin, East Meadow, Inwood, Island Park, Merrick, Oceanside, North Belmore, Seaford, and Wantagh.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted. Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in East Meadow, Elmont, Franklin Square, Island Park, Levittown, and Merrick.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on any of these items? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Uniondale.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter? Being none, Councilman.
I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding prohibitions of left turns in Oceanside.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding fire zones in Belmore.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard about this matter? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding gross weight restrictions in Uniondale.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed local law regarding no parking police vehicles only in Island Park and West Hempstead.
Would anybody like to be heard on this matter before the town board? There being none, I'll accept the motion, please.
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next item, please.
Proposed handicapped parking on public streets in Bay Park, Elmont, Franklin Square, and North Baldwin.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this matter before the town board? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Rita J. Merriday, 758 Wesley Street, Baldwin. Again, just a point of information as to, well, I just find it interesting that the other two were listed as Baldwin and this is listed as North Baldwin. We kind of consider ourselves one Baldwin. And secondly, what street? Because I don't recognize any of these streets listed here.
As it pertains to the Baldwin matter, which street is it?
known I was coming back. And just why, for classification, was it designated as North Baldwin versus just Baldwin? Just curious.
I apologize. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have the paperwork for this. I will take the resident aside and look further into this information rather than tying up the town board.
Okay, let's, okay. And with respect to, Mr. Ra, before you leave, Mr. Ra, now, just a question, if you could, with respect to the designation of North Baldwin as opposed to Baldwin, that is a,
have to look and see how the application came in. Maybe somebody would have made the application, said North Baldwin, and that there's no geographical entity called North Baldwin. It could be just somebody wrote it like that.
okay, if there, unless there is some requirement that we call it North Baldwin for a reason that's not immediately coming to mind, we'll change it to Baldwin.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else on this matter? There being none, a motion, please?
Mr. Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and that the proposed local law be adopted.
Second the motion.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Next matter, please.
Proposed revised public parking field maps in Merrick.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this item? Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is William Elliott. I am building manager at 31 Merrick Avenue, which we use that lot. I have a statement I'd like to read and
Please, go ahead.
submit some letters. I am the building manager at 31 Merrick Avenue for the last 17 years. 31 Merrick Avenue is primarily a health care provider-occupied building. I was only made aware of the proposed changes, and I'm not even sure what they are, but I was told that something is on the agenda for tonight. There's only for the proposed changes in the 1-hour parking just before Thanksgiving holiday. So I'm unable to provide complete documentation for my statement tonight at this time. And many people are affected by this who are not aware of what's going on here. They just heard about, these changes recently, and they have not had sufficient time to alter their schedules to speak tonight. And many have sent letters, which I have right here and I would like to submit. So from what I understand, 2 or 3 years ago, the 3-hour spaces, which are in front of our building at the curb, were changed to 1-hour spaces. We did not request this, but it worked out very well. And in this day and age, and in the interest of security, 2 years ago, we installed high-definition night vision cameras in our building. 2 of these cameras are able to view and record the entire parking lot area 24/7. In addition, it is able to capture still shots, time-dated, which I will be able to provide the board at a later date as to the parking issues. I monitor these cameras every day on both on the premises and remotely, and I could state that based on my observation, there is adequate parking in that lot for business for most of the time. However, due to several factors, it appears that the lot can get jammed for a couple of hours on holidays when school is not in session. This usually lasts no more than a couple of hours, and, this is when the 1 hour spots provide needed access to our building, the bank next door and the merchants on Merrick Avenue. I spoke to the bank manager, and he would also like to see these 1 hour spots remain. I would be happy to provide remote access codes to members of the board and departments to view and confirm what is happening in that lot. And I ask that the board continue these 1 hour spaces as they are or in an alternative. Just give us time to deal with this with our representatives.
To adjourn this matter without date, to give you and other interested individuals time to work with our traffic control department to see if we can come up with a solution that works, or incorporate your suggestions into how we move forward. But let's just take this off the calendar tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So what I'd be looking for at this point from a member of the board is a motion to adjourn the matter without date.
So moved.
Well, yes, to adjourn without date.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll work on this.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Vazito. Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Okay, on the administrative calendar.
Mr. Supervisor, on the administrative calendar tonight, I have items 1 through 29.
Okay, Senior Councilwoman, if you would.
Supervisor Santino, I move the entire administrative calendar in its entirety with the exception of item number 23, which I move to be adjourned without date.
Second.
Okay, now we will, there are some people who have manifested the desire to speak. I want to thank the Boy Scouts. Thank you very much, Boy Scouts, for being here. Okay. Mina Merriday on the administrative calendar. You signed in, please. Good evening again, and your name and address for the record.
Meta J. Merriday, 758 Wesley Street, Baldwin. The items I wish to reference, starting item number 6, 7, 8, which pretty much similar concerns. Well, first of all, with item 6, I'm requesting a copy of these procedures because I just really want to find out in terms of the impact for inclusion for veteran-owned, minority-owned, and women-owned businesses with regard to these initiatives, since we are dealing with state and federal funding. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding in terms of...
The town attorney, we can provide that, I would assume? Okay, so the town attorney, just see the town attorney at the conclusion of the meeting and we'll provide that.
Okay. Because adopting these actually just means that, I just need to get a better understanding of how, in fact, they will be adopted and implemented, since the town really does not have, at least to my estimation, a very consistent or comprehensive process that provides for outreach and procurement efforts that are inclusive of veterans, minority, and women-owned businesses. For 7 and 8, I'm just a little concerned because the two companies, the vendors that are listed there, also seem to do significant amounts of work within Nassau County, and they are now trying to do outreach within Nassau County to be more inclusive of women, minorities, and veteran-owned businesses, because their previous track record was not that great. So again, I'm concerned that our tax dollars and our funds are going towards these companies that are not diverse and they're not inclusive. So I just, again, want that on the record in terms of looking at those areas and being a little bit more forthcoming in providing opportunities for the diverse businesses and individuals that represent the town of Hempstead. Lastly, on item 16, just a little information with regard to the subject to permissive referendum. What exactly does that mean, and what was the vetting process with regard to Grace Industries, LLC?
Mr. Town Attorney, you want to go through that?
The permissive referendum is something that's in state law that on various things where a municipality wants to lease or sell or purchase real property, it's subject to a permissive referendum, which means if 5% of the registered voters in the town would sign a petition to have a vote on whether or not we should go forward with it, if 5% of the registered voters sign that petition, then there would have to be a vote by the residents of the town of Hempstead as to whether or not to go forward.
So has that process taken place?
Well, that's what this resolution is on the calendar today, subject to a permissive referendum. If nobody within 30 days, if we don't get a petition by 5% of the people, then it'll be passed.
Okay, but how are the residents being advised and educated with regard to what their options are as it pertains to this?
The calendar is published on the internet, and it's mailed out to various groups, and by saying that it's subject to a permissive referendum, that's how we give notice to the public.
But if the majority of the public may not be aware of what a permissive referendum is, they may not know what they're deciding for or against.
Well, the first step would be for someone to have the petition to ask for a permissive referendum and then start to circulate that.
Well, that's rather confusing for me, and I have been involved with construction, but it's kind of, I just find that interesting. As it pertains to Grace Industries, who are they and what's their background?
Grace Industries, well, this comes out of the sanitation department, but Grace Industries is going to store equipment in Oceanside while they do road construction. They're doing some overpass work, and they needed a place to store the equipment.
And has that company been vetted in terms of their outreach and subcontracting?
Well, I believe it's a state project. We're just making.
They are simply storing construction vehicles and apparatus at the landfill for which taxpayers will realize a revenue during the period of the construction. We have nothing to do with the construction. We are simply allowing them to store equipment on parts of our property down in Oceanside that are not currently utilized, and again, it derives a revenue for the taxpayer. Short-term lease.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. We're still on the administrative calendar part of it. Mr. Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Barn Street, Franklin Square, New York. Case number 7, the employees, I don't know what the other number is. I see that Blanche Shelton is getting a wage increase of about 3.7%. She, earlier this year, got about a 10.5% increase. I object to this increase for Blanche Shelton. This is a patronage position. The payroll of, part-timers are being reduced. We have all these flyers going out telling, the residents that we're saving money, and we're giving people who are basically politically connected huge wage increases, 14% over a little over a year and a half. It's really not fair. Her husband works for the town as a consultant. He makes $70,000 a year, and I can't figure out what he does. I foiled all the documents, and it's clear that there's a connection between her hire and her husband, so it's not an unrelated issue. All his invoices say is that he does what his contract says to do. That's what it says. I mean, would you hire somebody if every day they gave you an invoice and said, all we do is what was in that contract, and that contract has who knows what? You know, a liaison between the town and fire districts. So I really object to it. I strongly object to it. I hope somebody has the courage to vote against it. It's not fair to the part-timers making $15 an hour. They getting their hours cut, and she's getting an increase, and her husband gets an increase also, and it's all related to the same thing. Thank you.
Okay. I have no one else signed in for the administrative calendar. There being no one else, please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
I accept an item 5 on which I recuse myself.
Thank you. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Aye, except for item number 17, I vote no, and I recuse myself on item number 24.
Thank you.
Okay. Senior Councilman, can I have a motion, please?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Supervisor Santino.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Okay, now the town board will remain behind with reference to general items that people have requested the opportunity to speak, and we will begin with Donna DeGrossa. Ms. DeGrossa. Hello, and your name and address for the audio record, please.
My name is Donna DeGrossa.
Please sit down.
I live at 57 Salem Road in Hicksville.
Hicksville.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so bear with me. I'm actually here to talk on behalf of the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, some of the employees there. There's been some issues. I started volunteering there in 2012 after being recruited while perusing the kennels one afternoon. One of the women there, Dolores Stromo, sat with me and explained what this volunteer program was all about. It seemed pretty cool, it was interesting. So I signed up for it and became pretty active at the time. My volunteering kept me very busy, and besides being trained in walking various dogs at different stage of training, I volunteered with the trainers as well, helping to evaluate and categorize the animals for the best possible adoption families. On Wednesday nights, the trainers would stay late and a program was implemented for the volunteers to each take a dog and learn to train it. These programs proved beneficial for the well-being of the animals. It took them out of their crates, made them people-friendly, and just overall, like, more easily adoptable. You know, they had a high adoption rate at the time. I was also kept very busy in making raffles, baskets for raffles, for the many events that took place at the shelter monthly and would routinely help with the off-site events as well. I even took a first aid class for animals and learned how to do CPR on a dog. I was recruited to foster kittens on a regular basis, and the overall atmosphere at the shelter was positive, and it was always a pleasure to talk with the staff there. After a year or so, I had to take a hiatus to deal with some many renovations on my home, and I recently returned. So this is a couple of years later. I learned of many changes there. The trainers that implemented those lovely programs that took the dogs out of their crates on a regular basis, trained them, and made them more adoptable, they're all gone. Events are far and few between, and the overall atmosphere of the shelter has changed, not for the better. It seems there are not as many staff there as well, And on all those that are there are friendly and dedicated, there doesn't seem to be the attention available to spend on the animals, and the appearance and cleanliness seems to suffer there. I've asked questions, and I've learned that there's a new director there that doesn't stress the importance of these programs, hasn't even gone to great lengths to make employment uncomfortable for the employees that speak out against his direction. Good people have left because of this, and it appears he is trying to make others leave as well. That's it? Oh. He has taken successful programs away from those that have implemented them for unknown reasons and replaced the employees that have left, and has not replaced the employees that have left. The animals are in their cages all day because there's not enough staff to walk them, and there are no training programs with the volunteers anymore. I don't understand how anybody could let this happen to such innocent souls. The shelter was such a great positive place to be, and now it's regressed to a 1970s shelter. I'm hoping that by speaking my mind today that somebody from your administration sees fit to look into this matter and to correct the deficits immediately, as the animals will continue to suffer unless there's immediate intervention. It's not good there anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Ellen Cray. Mary Ellen Cray.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Cray, 436 Locust Avenue in Uniondale. We had spoken at other times about senior centers, and I'm concerned because I'm hearing that 2 senior centers are closing, one in Uniondale and one in East Meadow, and programs are not going to be held there longer. Although I do not attend those centers, I'd like some more information about that, please.
Okay. There is no change with respect to Uniondale. East Meadow and Salisbury are being combined into one center because of the fact that there's been a change with respect to the rent that's being asked for the one center. It's become exorbitant, and basically the one facility can accommodate both groups of seniors that go there. And again, it's because all of a sudden the rent being asked for the one place has become exorbitant.
So the program will be in Salisbury in the future?
That's correct, and no change, no programmatic changes whatsoever.
And when classes get a little bit over extended, how, that Salisbury Center really does not have a lot of room.
I'm assured that the facility they can accommodate, but we'll certainly keep an eye on it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Another question is about the Uniondale Fire Protection District. I'm wondering when the handover will take place between the town and the Uniondale Fire District.
Westbury?
Yeah, because Westbury is right now administering that, and
Well, I believe that is subject to, and I'm not 100% certain of the details at this point, timeline, but I believe it's subject to an RFP, right? Mr. Town Attorney?
Yes, 72.
So basically, it is the renewal. The Westbury Fire District has had the contract for some time. I believe the renewal is up, and it's going to be subject to a request for proposal where any surrounding fire department can make a proposal, and then obviously the town will make a decision based on in its considered opinion, who can provide the best service at the lowest cost to taxpayers.
I see. And I do recall, it seems, at some point in the past that there was like a retroactive approval of some kind of contract that went to 2014 and so on relating to this fire district, and I'm just wondering if that was
sometimes
also
the contracts
an RFP?
sometimes the contracts are negotiated. The negotiations are concluded after the expiration of the previous contract. Obviously, service is maintained until a new contract is concluded, and then it would effectively be retroactive, but there's no break in service. But this one will be offered out for an RFP. There are some places where only one fire department could reasonably provide the service. There are areas where several can, and then in that case, we put it out for a request for proposal. And again, the decision is ultimately made on who could provide the best service at the lowest cost to taxpayers.
It just seems that 2 years after the, from 2014 to 2016 was a long period of time. But isn't there a timeline when the RFP is required to be turned in?
Yeah, I don't know where that is off the top of my head, but I'm sure the town attorney's office can track that down and get it to you.
Good, I appreciate that. I'd like to express my concern that there was no publication of the names at the prior to the previous meeting of the people who were proposed and accepted for the members of the IDA, and I think that shows a lack of transparency. It was not on our agenda, for example, and it would seem to me that it would certainly have been appropriate to have been so noted. On number 6 on the administrative calendar, I just am using that opportunity to remind you of Uniondale's Community Land Trust, and if there are ways to work together, we would appreciate some liaison with the town board in order to accomplish our mission. And then the last is a question, because somebody said to me that Meadowbrook Parkway is getting an exit and entrance on Jerusalem Avenue. My impression was that construction is actually for the pipe.
I have no knowledge of an additional exit, and I think we'd be aware of it.
I would think so too, but I think that is for that sewer pipe that's coming from Hempstead.
It's certainly, to the best of my knowledge, not an exit or an entrance ramp.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meredith. Nancy Gearis, you said possibly.
Nancy Gearis, North Atlanta Avenue, North Massapequa. Do the rest of the council members expect to return for the meeting?
I have no idea.
Oh, I would appreciate it if they were going to be here. If we take the opportunity to get up and speak, I think it's probably respectful and appropriate that the council members be engaged and listen unless an emergency has taken them away. Could you see if the rest of the board is going to return?
Please go ahead. You're using up your time. Please go ahead.
I am using up the time because we came to talk and we certainly expect to be listened to, and oftentimes I find that the demeanor
we're here to listen to you.
I often find at times that the demeanor of the board is one of either lack of interest or getting up and walking around and talking to other people and leaving for drinks and coming back. And the meeting is not that long. I don't really see why it's so difficult for everyone to stay focused for a period of time. We come here to be heard. We expect our council members to be here and to be listened to.
You left to go to the bathroom. Go ahead,
Is there
please.
anyone else who's returning, Mr. Blake?
Please go ahead, please.
I know you want me to go ahead, and I know that there's rules that you've set up here, but I'm here to speak to the council people.
You're
who
using
just
up
keep-
your own time. So.
Well, no, I'm not using up my own time. I'm using up all of our time because Mr. Blakeman was sitting, and honestly, he looked like he was going to fall asleep there for a minute. And now he's just left and hasn't returned, and I find that unbelievably disrespectful. I'm here to speak on behalf of the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. I'm the adoption coordinator. Is that a problem, Mr. Hughes? Oh, you seem to have reacted very remarkably to that. I'm going to say this and I'm going to make it clear. We've talked and talked and talked and talked. I've addressed you. We've written things. We've said things. I am going to ask you once and for all to get things squared away at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. The place is a disaster. We have staffers that are having their hours cut. We're having part-timers that are coming from other departments that are not well suited and are in fact liabilities, that have gotten bitten and injured, and it has a short-term goal for really no benefit to either the animals or the staff members, because now you're paying for injuries. And now well-adept staff are being pulled either by choice or by design into other departments. It eludes all practicality. It makes no sense whatsoever. We have animals that are still being sent off to rescues that we have no idea where we're sending them to. They could be under cruelty charges. They could be up for euthanasia. We really have no idea. The direction of the shelter has become a hoarding situation where the animals are just being held literally like a pound. Any idea of it being an adoption center has been systematically dismantled over the past several years. There are no adoption events off-site. There are no adoption events on-site. We're still waiting for the certified trainer to show up. We still have someone who's not qualified making recommendations. And again, we're turning people away left and right. We just keep talking circles. Everybody says they're listening. I'm a cut-to-the-chase kind of person. Once and for all, I am asking you to restore that shelter back to the adoption center that we achieved 2 years ago. It has been systematically destroyed under the direction of Mike Pastore over the past 2 years. And everybody talks and everybody listens, but nobody does anything, nothing active. We now have someone who's in our buying and purchasing department. We are consistently running out of materials. Not just toner and cartridges and paper. We are running out of kitten food, dog food, Clavamox, medications. We have kittens that are eating the wrong food because we can't keep the supplies appropriately ordered. And again, that's under new leadership. And the people that were there who previously had done it had done an appropriate job, and those people were taken out. These animals and these people are not piles of papers that you can put off to the side and expect to come back to on Monday. Kittens have to eat, dogs have to be fed, animals need medication. We had 4 days where we didn't have one box to take a cat home in. And you take it home in your pocket. How do you take the cat home? We don't have any boxes. Doesn't happen once, doesn't happen twice, it happens all the time. Enough is enough. I am asking once and for all, you've got to be tired of this. I'm exhausted from it, but I assure you I will not go away until this is rectified. Return this adoption shelter back to the previous progressive state that it was in. And once again, that is not going to happen under the philosophical values that's there. I don't understand. I don't understand why you would want to have a glut of animals sitting, not able to be adopted out. It's counterintuitive. And having people coming from sanitation, highways, and all kinds of unrelated departments that are now handling animals that are putting themselves at risk and putting those animals at risk. And now you're paying, and we're all paying, for the accidents and the injuries and all the things that have occurred. It makes no sense at all. And I beg of you, once and for all, please make this right. Make this right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you.
Meter Meriday.
That was very abrupt, and I don't appreciate that.
Meter Meriday, please. Ms. Meriday?
Meter J. Meriday, 758 Wesley Street. That was just interesting. We really need to get back to some level of courtesy and consideration, I guess on both sides, but it really gets even harder to be out here. And I consistently admire those residents and taxpayers who take the time out on a regular basis to be out here for our animals, and I really commend them for that. And I only wish that we had more people, more residents and taxpayers who could be out and be concerned before they read about things in Newsday about where our tax dollars are going, because it's not benefiting those who are most vulnerable. And speaking of vulnerable constituencies, again, I am here to voice my ongoing concerns with regard to how our veterans are treated outside of the parades and picnics, and waving the flag and wearing the flag lapel pin. And we continue to, particularly in the town, we tout the fact that there's the one paid individual who's helping folks to kind of fill out those benefits, but we don't really understand how many veterans are, in homes that are set up for foreclosure and are terrified to leave those homes because they are in fear of the sheriff coming to lock the door and put their stuff out on the street. And this is now 2016, and nothing has really changed. And as one previous resident spoke, and again, I'm clearly going to go past my 3 minutes because, I just want to make sure everybody's kind of paying attention. I'm trying to again, be calm and be respectful, even though I really feel like I'm not being respected by those who are elected to represent me. I would like to say that, as another resident mentioned, the IDA nomination process with all of the promotion about transparency really wasn't, and to not even have any women considered for inclusion on that, I just think that kind of, smacks in the face of, again, my call for the increased diversity that we continue to not have in the town of Hempstead as well as Nassau County. But I do want to also talk about these construction projects that are taking place, and now that the town is adopting the New York State storm recovery procedures, I am concerned as to how that is going to be implemented, because it's the same, to my perception, old boy representations and speaking to the same old in terms of those who are actually activating those processes. And we continue to have veterans who are leaving in droves. We're not keeping our student veterans who are getting the education in this area. We're not doing anything to assist those veterans who are struggling in their homes. And we're really not doing much to address the hires for procurement and for contracting opportunities. So I'm concerned about that. And I have spoken to this issue on a regular basis. And as long as I can physically do that, I feel that it is important for my voice to be heard, and maybe it will ripple out to others who are in earshot of my voice to understand the thousands of veterans that live in the town of Hempstead, live in Nassau County, and live on Long Island who are underrepresented and underserved, and hopefully they can begin to come and to speak out and to be heard and to voice their concerns about the things that they do not have. So, having said that, I do also want to address Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. I want to thank her for her vigilance with regard to our Coesneck Park in the northern part of Baldwin, not North Baldwin. And we are looking forward to the updates on the fencing area and those representatives who took the time to come out earlier today from Parks and Recreation. We do appreciate that. Also, with regard to the maintaining the vigilance on the religious institution that's located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Stanton. From what I understand, there is a hold on their fencing because there was some information that this town board, due to the increased, let's just say, voices of Baldwin residents, asked the right questions, and put in place, I believe, a hold on that construction process, and we hope that it will not be one of those things that get passed in the middle of the day when residents are not able to come and participate, because if they finish that fence the way they were building it, more like a brick wall to fortress themselves in right up the block from an elementary school, we are putting our young people and their parents and senior citizens at risk. So again, I want that on the record that we are maintaining a watchful eye on that property as well for the safety. And lastly, there continues to be flooding issues, and I know, not just in Baldwin, but I know because of the storms that we had today, there are a number of town roads that will be flooded as I speak, that I'm hoping we can get those containers addressed finally, because I know the county is looking at reopening the viaduct between Bay Park and Cedar Creek to divert the affluents as opposed to going into the bay. I don't know what the town's role is in that, but that will also disrupt some roads that were already redone. And we seem to keep doing these construction projects over and over again, and we're not addressing the safety issues and the rainfall and the runoff for residents. You're very welcome, but as again, I just hope we can get back to some level of courtesy, particularly for residents who
Thank you
take
very
the time
much.
to be out here. Thank you. You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Lucille Defina.
Good evening. You know, it's amazing
Name and
that
address for the audio record, please.
Lucille Defina, 2749 Merrick Avenue in Merrick. And you made it very obvious, Supervisor Santino, that you could give a damn what happens to these animals. And the reason why you sit there and do not care about anything anybody has been telling you since you're in office is because you are well aware of what is going on at the shelter. You are well aware of what Mike Pastore is doing to the staff, the people, and the animals. You've helped him, you've empowered him, you've surrounded him by staff that is making him get away with it. I've been looking into so many things, and what people don't even realize is the amount of animals that are dying in there. That I don't know what's worse, the ones that are sitting languishing in cages, not getting any walks, any attention, any rehabilitation, anything, just to prove we don't kill animals, or all the animals that Mike Pastore is killing that the people don't even see. The volunteers have no idea. Animals that are being surrendered into the shelter, 10-month-old puppy, who their owner cannot control, that used to be surrendered into the animal shelter to be rehabilitated, trained, and adopted, was killed within hours. Nobody sees him. He doesn't even get a photograph. That's the majority of all the dogs that were killed under owner request for euthanasia. They are not owner request for euthanasia. They are Mike Pastore killed for aggression. And he is able to input information into the computer that makes it look like the owner requested it. That way he doesn't have to go along with the policies and procedures that were in effect for the past 3 years. Everything has been abolished. I foiled the policy and procedures for intakes of these dogs. And guess what? He said there were none. So you no longer even have intake policies and procedures. He eliminated it. This shelter is running like a free-for-all. It is a high-kill shelter again, and you don't care. You sit there and you ignore everybody who's been telling you this. You are well aware of it. And I finally got to look into the cats, and the cats have no medical. All the cats that have died, hundreds, under severe medical, are because they've come in, most of them TNR programs. You have these volunteers who think they're socializing, petting, taking care, fostering, cleaning cages for kittens. No, they have no idea. All of them are being snuffed out and killed as quickly as they come in under severe medical. The FOIL records show it because there are no medical. You want to see what a kitten medical sheet looks like? It's totally blank. This is what your medical record looks like on kittens and cats. That's a disgrace. That's an expensive pet point software system that our tax dollars purchased. And it's costly to maintain, and it's not being utilized. Somebody is allowing Mike Pastore to tell his staff not to put any information into the pet point system, so why even have it? All of this is very clear. You have a shelter that is doing nothing. Everybody sees it. It's obvious. You can't even buy supplies. It can't function. He runs that shelter the way this town board runs this town. You don't want to listen. You don't care. You're heartless. You're not in it for the people, and they're not in it for the animals. It's a disgrace.
Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, 243 Cherry Place, East Meadow. Supervisor, on our first meeting back in February, you said you wanted to reset things. You wanted to do things different. You didn't want it to be like it was with Kate Murray. You reset it back to 2009. Why? What was the purpose? Why are you allowing this? Councilwoman, I believe the shelter's in your district. Do you have anything to say? Why is it?
It's not an interrogatory proceeding. If you have a comment to make, please make it. If not, we'll move on.
I see that. There was a dog, Ezra, that was in need, got so shut down behavior-wise. And the solution was to send her to Virginia, as they send dogs to the southern states, which are gassing states. We take animals up from the gassing states. We don't send them there, but this dog went there, despite the fact that the facility had violations against it. In the meantime, organizations like Pets for Love, where Mr. Denning attended a real reading program, are stalled and not approved. And I'd like to know who is making these decisions. Is this still the rescue coordinator that is deciding where these animals are going, considering rescue organizations? Because somebody will be held accountable.
Mr. Denning?
The facility Ms. Madden's referencing is a place in Virginia that, as the last inspection done by the Commonwealth was passed. No violations against it. That was done on September 26th of this year. It was a dog that was able to, one of the volunteers was able to get out of the shelter and go to possibly and definitely a better life. And that's what happened to Ezra.
It's that facility they found dead animals on the property. What I would like to know, I'm sure you came up with that because everybody reads my posts like cocaine addict.
I do my research.
So, right, I'm sure it doesn't take much. You turn on Facebook and see what I write. In any case, this facility, I would like to know who inspected, because you inspected Pets for Love, and yet you have not approved them. So who inspected, since you were so free?
Let me just understand. This is past the it's in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it is past the inspection of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, therefore, I would suggest your question should be directed to the Commonwealth of Virginia.
That they passed this facility? Is that how it works? You send the animals hoping that's a real certificate, and I've got to do more work than I've already done to try to raise awareness and plead with you to fix that Hell's Kitchen you refer to as an animal shelter? When are you going to have enough? How long are you going to let Michael Pastore embarrass you? When? You said the fish rots from the head. Well, it certainly does. What are you going to do? How do you sit here since February and do nothing? The policies and procedures for the $30,000 additional money line item that is on the budget. Could someone tell me what that is for?
Mr. Conroy.
Good evening. I've been working with Mr. Denning on the policies and procedures as it relates to the $30,000 line item in the budget for placement of animals. Mr. Denning and Mr. Pastore have produced the qualitative issues regarding said policy. The quantitative issues are being worked on by staff in my office currently.
Okay, so they're still being worked on.
They're being worked on. The qualitative has been completed. The quantitative issues are being looked at right now, and they will be included in the policies as the policies are completed.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Ra, an update for the investigation. I know last time you said that your lead investigator was going to meet with you and give an update on this almost year-long internal investigation.
There'll be an answer soon.
I'm sorry?
Not completed yet, there'll be an answer soon.
On the outcome of the investigation or an update for you?
On the outcome of the investigation.
Okay. The person that you had mentioned and taken notation of, Mr. Ben Mento, has any progress been made since they're looking to remove yet more staff from the animal shelter? I understood he was going to be given full time. Has anyone moved forward with that?
At this time.
Well, the last town board, you said that there were a few retirements. You took his name.
It's under review. In the whole big budgetary picture, it's under review.
I see. It's under review.
Mm-hmm.
Can you answer me? What are you doing about the animal shelter?
Have any other comments?
No, that's
Thank you very much.
my last comment.
Okay, Mr. The last slip I have is from Mr. Felix Procacci.
Has the town filed a lawsuit against the Hempstead IDA or the owners of Green Acres Mall?
What's the question?
Has the town filed a lawsuit against the Hempstead IDA or the owners of the Green Acres Mall?
Mr. Ra?
The answer to that question is no. There's a new IDA board. They'll be meeting shortly. If they don't proceed to address the issues concerning the pilot, then the town attorney's office will decide whether or not to go forward with the lawsuit.
Is the town currently studying the effect of the Green Acres pilot on the property taxes?
Yes.
Was any definitive conclusion found? You know, any
The only definitive information we have right now is that the school district, and I think it was District 30, put out a letter and said that they under budgeted $3 million because they did not realize how much money they were getting as a pilot. As a result, they under budgeted $3 million. That's the only definitive thing that's out right now.
Okay. Supervisor Santino at the last town board meeting said he was going to take it under consideration about, you know, putting the video and the minutes and the agenda of all boards that are under his control on the internet. Were there any meetings held in regard to considering that action?
The suggestion of yours is one that is under review. The only board that we have control, the IDA board, is a separate, distinct, and independent board. The only board that might be operative for is the Board of Zoning Appeals, and we're looking at that.
Well, you could make a town law that requires videoing of all public meetings. You know, you could make a law that does that.
Okay. I'm sure if you say so, it's so.
Okay. Why not? You try to control the price of air.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Okay. Under what conditions does the town allow businesses to operate without the proper permits?
You have to be specific. What does that mean?
No, under what? Okay, there are businesses that the town is aware of that are operating without the proper permits, and you're all aware of it. So under what conditions are businesses allowed to do that? You know, if I want to open up a business, how can I get away with doing that? Like some people can, but some people can't. So how do you do that?
I think if you are referring to a situation where someone has been summoned for some particular item, some particular infraction, and they then file for a permit, or if they need a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals. I believe at that point, we allow the continuation of operation pending either the variance or the rezoning or whatever adjudication it requires.
If I might, Supervisor, it's not even so much that the town allows it. There's case law that stays all actions by the municipality while the application is being looked at.
Okay, so you basically, because you're allowing the bowler market at Covert and Hempstead Turnpike, we had a hearing here a couple months ago, and you were aware of it, and all you could do is compliment the guy, but he's operating illegally, and he has numerous things on his property weren't done per the...
Well, I believe Mr. Ra has answered you in that respect.
I understand. I just want to know how people get away with it, because some people would like to open without a permit. It's nice that you could have revenue coming in and not having to worry about whether the town board approves you or not. You just keep on operating and making money.
Well, as Mr. Ross said, we're governed by case law.
Yeah, okay, so then it means you really don't need a permit. Just open up. Okay.
No.
Okay, in the lawsuit against the Navy, Grumman, and those other entities, prior to filing the lawsuit, did the town seek damages from any other federal agency before you decided to sue the United States government?
I'm not going to comment on pending litigation.
Well, I have all your pending litigation. It's all on Pacer, so I downloaded it all. So it's not like it's private information. So I'm not sure why you don't want to comment on it, because it's public information. Because as far as I can tell from the paperwork, you didn't. But I just wanted to get confirmation because I'm not a lawyer, so reading this stuff is a little difficult.
And anything we say here will wind up in further court papers. And that's why we don't comment on pending litigation.
Well, it probably belongs there. The BZA held an illegal hearing on October 19th. They didn't call the hearing properly. They didn't announce they adjourned the meeting on October 13th, and it was assumed to be closed, and they held an illegal hearing. They violated transparency and everything else, similar to what you accused the Hempstead IDA of doing. I would like to see a little bit outrage from you, Mr. Santino, about their lack of transparency, because they have really done a real number on transparency to ensure that nobody knows what's going on. So they held an illegal hearing. Will you do anything to punish them? Just make a comment, and warn them not to do that anymore, because they adjourned the meeting on October 13th. Everybody assumed it was not going to be opened up. Chairman Weiss maybe said it 30 times during the hearing. After today, no more. And October 19th, he didn't notify anyone except the two attorneys in the case, and that's it. And he held a hearing right here, October 19th. He didn't follow proper protocol for calling a meeting after it was adjourned. Do you feel any outrage? Yeah, I didn't think so. You're full of it,
I wanted to make mention, Mr. Ra, for the record, that not everyone has been interviewed for the investigation. People are still waiting.
You do that.
I think if you are referring to a situation where someone has been summoned for some particular item, some particular infraction, and they then file for a permit, or if they need a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals, I believe at that point we allow the continuation of operation pending either the variance or the rezoning or whatever adjudication it requires.
If I might, Supervisor, it's not even so much that the town allows it. There's case law that stays all actions by the municipality while the application is being looked at.
Okay, so you basically, because you're allowing the bowler market at Covert and Hempstead Turnpike, we had a hearing here a couple months ago, and you were aware of it, and all you could do is compliment the guy, but he's operating illegally, and he has numerous things on his property weren't done per the.
Well, I believe Mr. Ra has answered you in that respect.
I understand. I just want to know how people get away with it, because some people would like to open without a permit. It's nice that you could have revenue coming in and not having to worry about the town, whether the town board approves you or not. You just keep on operating and making money.
Well, as Mr. Ross said, we're governed by case law.
Yeah, okay, so then it means you really don't need a permit. Just open up. Okay.
No.
Okay, in the lawsuit against the Navy, Grumman, and those other entities, prior to filing the lawsuit, did the town seek damages from any other federal agency before you decided to sue the United States government?
I'm not going to comment on pending litigation.
Well, I have all your pending litigation. It's all on Pacer, so I downloaded it all. So it's not like it's private information. So I'm not sure why you don't want to comment on it, because it's public information. Because, you know, as far as I can tell from the paperwork, you didn't. But, you know, I just wanted to get confirmation because I'm not a lawyer, so reading this stuff is a little difficult.
And anything we say here will wind up in further court papers. And that's why we don't comment on pending litigation.
Well, it probably belongs there. The BZA held an illegal hearing on October 19th. They didn't call the hearing properly. They didn't announce they adjourned the meeting on October 13th, and it was assumed to be closed, and they held an illegal hearing. They violated transparency and everything else, similar to what you accused the Hempstead IDA of doing. I would like to see a little bit outrage from you, Mr. Santino, about their lack of transparency, because they have really done a real number on transparency to ensure that nobody knows what's going on. So they held an illegal hearing. Will you do anything to punish them? Make a comment, you know, and warn them not to do that anymore, because they adjourned the meeting on October 13th. Everybody assumed it was not going to be opened up. Chairman Weiss maybe said it 30 times during the hearing. After today, no more. And October 19th, he didn't notify anyone except the two attorneys in the case, and that's it. And he held a hearing right here, October 19th. He didn't follow proper protocol for calling a meeting after it was adjourned. Do you feel any outrage? Yeah, I didn't think so. You're full of it, you know?
I wanted to make mention, Mr. Ra, for the record, that not everyone has been interviewed for the investigation. People are still waiting.